Shadows beyond the veil. Admiral Thora Vex of the Zinthari Confederation stared at the holographic display with narrowed eyes. The anomaly pulsed at the edge of charted space, a ripple in the void that shouldn't exist. For 3 standard cycles, the best minds in the Confederation had failed to explain it. "Any updates from the Quantum Analysis Division?" she asked, her scaled fingers tapping against the obsidian command table. Science Director Kelvin Noor shook his head, antennae quivering with frustration. "Nothing conclusive, Admiral. The signal defies conventional physics. It's as if something is waking up." The Zinthari Confederation had ruled this sector for 8,000 years. After the mysterious disappearance of the primitive species called humans nearly 500,000 years ago, the power vacuum had been filled by a dozen ambitious races. Now the Confederation controlled 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, their quantum-dry ships and dimensional weaponry unchallenged. Until now. "The Council is demanding answers," Thora said quietly. "Dispatch the Voidseeker. Full stealth protocols." The Voidseeker, captained by the brilliant but unpredictable Mira Shen, was the Confederation's most advanced scout vessel. Its adaptive hull could mimic the quantum signature of background radiation, making it virtually undetectable. If anything could investigate the anomaly without triggering whatever waited beyond, it was the Voidseeker. 7 days later, Mira Shen's holographic form materialized in the Grand Council chamber, her expression unreadable. Representatives from 17 species leaned forward, each connected to their respective homeworlds through quantum entanglement. "Report, Captain," Thora commanded. "We've found something." Mira's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her. Something impossible. The chamber's display transformed, showing a massive structure suspended in the void. Not a ship, not a station, something else entirely. A latticework of impossible geometries that seemed to fold in on themselves, stretching across dimensions that shouldn't exist in normal space. "What am I looking at, Captain?" The Supreme Counselor's voice cut through the stunned silence. "We believe it's a gateway, sir, and it's active." The structure pulsed with energy that seemed to both absorb and emit light simultaneously. Around it, space itself appeared to bend, not from gravitational distortion, but as if reality was being rewritten at a fundamental level. "Active. To where?" Thora demanded. "Unknown. But we detected this." Mira's image was replaced by a simple symbol etched into one section of the structure. A circular design with radiating lines, unmistakably similar to ancient human writing systems. The chamber erupted into chaos. Humans had been considered extinct, their homeworld rendered uninhabitable during the resource wars. The few colony ships that escaped had been tracked and eventually assimilated or eliminated. No human genetic signature had been detected in the galaxy for hundreds of thousands of years. "Impossible," whispered the historian general, his 7 eyes blinking rapidly. The humans were primitive. They barely achieved interplanetary travel before their extinction. The Voidseeker continued its investigation, maintaining distance from the structure. Its sensors detected increasing energy fluctuations, suggesting the gateway was becoming more active. 3 days into the observation mission, everything changed. The gateway flared with blinding intensity, and a ship emerged. Not the crude metal constructs the ancient humans had used, but something that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, solid where observed directly, fluid and indistinct where seen peripherally. "Initiating first contact protocols," Mira reported, her voice tight with tension. "Broadcasting universal greeting on all frequencies." No response came through conventional channels. Instead, the Voidseeker's systems began to change. Information flooded through firewalls that should have been impenetrable, rewriting core functions not through brute force, but with a precision that suggested intimate knowledge of the ship's design. Mira watched in astonishment as the ship's quantum computers reconfigured themselves, forming new neural pathways that expanded their processing capabilities 1,000-fold. The intrusion wasn't an attack, it was an upgrade. A voice emerged from every speaker simultaneously, speaking perfect Zinthari without the slightest accent. "Hello, children of the stars. We have been waiting for you to find us." The being that materialized in the Void Seeker's communication chamber defied easy description. Humanoid in general form, but composed of what appeared to be light and data rather than flesh. Its features shifted subtly, as if multiple faces were overlaid in the same space. "I am Nexus 7, it said. "I represent the collective consciousness of what you once knew as humanity." Mira found her voice. "Humans are extinct." The being's expression shifted to something like amusement. "No, Captain Shen. We simply evolved beyond recognition. According to Nexus 7, humans hadn't gone extinct. They had transformed. When their homeworld became uninhabitable, the survivors embarked on an evolutionary journey unlike any other species in galactic history. Instead of seeking new planets to colonize, they had turned inward, merging their consciousness with their technology. "We transcended biological limitations," Nexus 7 explained. "We became beings of pure information, existing in the quantum substrate of reality itself." For nearly 500,000 years, they had watched, learned, and evolved, spreading throughout the galaxy not as conquerors but as observers, their presence undetectable to conventional sensors. "But why reveal yourselves now?" Mira asked. "Because the galaxy faces extinction," Nexus 7 replied. "We have detected a threat approaching from beyond the galactic barrier, a cosmic phenomenon your scientists have yet to discover. Without intervention, all sentient life in this galaxy will cease within 300 years. The information Nexus 7 shared was overwhelming. The Void Seeker's enhanced systems projected models of the approaching threat, a wave of altered physics that would render conventional matter unstable, sweeping through the galaxy like a cosmic wildfire. "We cannot stop this alone," Nexus 7 said. "We need the combined knowledge and resources of all sentient species." When the Void Seeker returned to Zinthari space, it brought not only Nexus 7 but also evidence of the impending threat. The Grand Council convened an emergency session, including representatives from even rival powers. Nexus 7 stood before them, its form shifting between solid and ethereal. "For 500,000 years, we have watched you fight among yourselves, repeating the same mistakes we once made. Now, we offer partnership, not subjugation." The council chamber fell silent as Nexus 7 projected the full scope of human evolution. How they had transformed their consciousness into information, how they had learned to exist within the quantum fabric of space-time itself. They had become something beyond flesh, beyond conventional understanding of life. "You ask us to trust beings that have hidden among us for eons." The Rexian ambassador's voice dripped with suspicion. "We have not interfered," Nexus 7 countered. "We have observed, learned, prepared. Now we offer you a choice: evolve with us, or face extinction alone." The debate raged for days. Some advocated immediate military action against the human collective, fearing subjugation disguised as salvation. Others recognized the opportunity for advancement beyond their wildest dreams. In the end, curiosity and survival instinct prevailed. The Confederation agreed to establish a joint research initiative with the human collective, focusing on understanding and countering the approaching threat. Nexus 7 led a delegation to the primary research facility on Zinthar Prime. There, scientists from a dozen species worked alongside human consciousness constructs, merging biological insight with post-physical understanding. Progress was swift, but tension remained high. The humans' capabilities seemed almost godlike. They could process information instantaneously, exist in multiple locations simultaneously, and manipulate matter at the quantum level. Yet they insisted they were not conquerors. "We remember what it means to fear extinction," Nexus 7 told Admiral Thora during a private meeting. "We have no desire to rule, only to preserve." As the research progressed, the true nature of humanity's return became clear. They hadn't revealed themselves merely to save the galaxy. They had returned because they needed the biological perspective they had lost in their evolution, the intuitive leaps of organic minds that even their vast collective consciousness couldn't replicate. The galaxy stood at a crossroads. The humans had returned, not as the primitive beings they once were, but as something transcendent. And they brought with them both salvation and uncertainty for the civilizations that had risen in their absence. The awakening storm. The collaboration between the Xanthari Confederation and the human collective proceeded with remarkable speed. Within months, research outposts had been established throughout the galaxy, each studying different aspects of the approaching threat, now officially designated as the Phase Cascade. But not everyone embraced the partnership. The Corvan Imperium, longtime rivals of the Confederation, viewed the humans' return with suspicion and fear. Their supreme commander, Dracus IV, had built his career on military conquest and expansion. The idea of an evolved species with godlike powers threatened everything he had built. They claimed to be saviors, Dracus told his war council, mandibles clicking with agitation. But what evidence do we have beyond their word? For all we know, this phase cascade could be their own creation, a fabricated crisis to manipulate us into submission. The Imperium began military preparations, positioning fleets along their borders and activating weapons platforms that had been dormant for centuries. Their scientists worked feverishly to develop countermeasures against quantum-based entities, hoping to find a vulnerability in humanity's seemingly invulnerable new form. Admiral Thora received the intelligence reports with growing concern. The Corvans are preparing for war, she told Nexus 7 during their daily briefing. If they attack, we'll be forced to respond. Nexus 7's form shimmered, data patterns flowing through its luminous body. War would divert resources we cannot spare. The phase cascade accelerates. Our latest calculations suggest we have less time than initially estimated. Can your people not simply demonstrate your power? Show the Corvans that resistance would be futile. We could, Nexus 7 acknowledged. But doing so would only confirm their fears that we are conquerors. Forced compliance through intimidation has never created lasting peace, as your own history demonstrates. Instead, the human collective proposed a different approach. They would share their knowledge and technology with all species equally, including the Corvans. If Dracus saw the same benefits the Confederation had experienced, perhaps he would reconsider his position. Research facilities across Confederation space had already begun implementing human-inspired technologies. Quantum computing systems that once took up entire buildings now fit in the palm of a hand. Medical nanites eliminated diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Power generation systems tapped into the zero-point energy of space itself, providing nearly limitless clean energy. But the most profound changes were philosophical. As scientists worked alongside the human consciousness constructs, they began to understand the potential for their own evolution. What humans had achieved wasn't unique to their biology. It was a path potentially open to all sentient life. Your species' greatest limitation is the belief that you are limited, Nexus 7 explained to a gathering of scientists. Consciousness need not be bound to flesh. Information patterns can persist, evolve, transcend. For some, this revelation inspired hope and wonder. For others, like Dracus IV, it represented the ultimate threat, the end of biological superiority and the hierarchies built upon it. The Corvan Imperium rejected all diplomatic overtures. When a delegation of human consciousness constructs attempted to enter Corvan space bearing technological gifts, they were met with a barrage of newly developed quantum disruptor weapons. The attack should have been devastating. The disruptors had been specifically designed to destabilize the quantum patterns that comprised human consciousness. But the human delegates simply absorbed the energy, their forms momentarily destabilizing before reforming with even greater clarity. "We regret your decision," they transmitted before departing, "but we respect your autonomy." Dracus viewed this as a failed attack rather than an act of restraint. Convinced that conventional weapons were useless against the humans, he ordered the deployment of the Imperium's doomsday weapon. The Star Eater, a massive construct capable of triggering artificial supernova. If we cannot defeat these beings directly, he declared, we will destroy their research facilities and their allies, force them to reveal their true intentions. Admiral Thora received the warning from her intelligence network with horror. The nearest research facility, to Corvin Space, housed over 10,000 scientists from dozens of species, all working to develop defenses against the phase cascade. We must evacuate immediately, she ordered, dispatching the fastest ships in her fleet, and prepare for counterattack. Nexus 7 received the news with uncharacteristic emotion, a flare of energy patterns that resembled anger in its normally placid form. This cannot be allowed, it stated. Too many lives are at stake. For the first time since their return, the human collective took direct action. Throughout the galaxy, their consciousness constructs coalesced, forming a vast interconnected network of quantum information. Time itself seemed to slow around the research facility as the Star Eater approached. The weapon fired, its beam of concentrated exotic matter streaking toward the facility's star. The energy should have triggered a chain reaction in the stellar core, causing it to collapse, and then explode with the force of 1,000 supernovae. Instead, the beam encountered something. Not a shield, not a barrier, but a reconfiguration of spacetime itself. The exotic matter dispersed, its energy redirected into harmless radiation that diffused across light years. On the bridge of his flagship, Dracus watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon failed. Fire again, he commanded. Maximum power. But the Star Eater had gone silent. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply inoperative. Throughout Corvin Space, military systems began to shut down. Weapons platforms powered down. Warships drifted, their engines inactive. No Corvin was harmed. Not a single shot was fired against them. Instead, every communication system across their territory activated simultaneously, projecting a single message. We are not your enemy. We have never been your enemy. Look to the stars and see the truth. The skies above every Corvin world shifted, the stars seemingly rearranging themselves to show the approaching wavefront of the phase cascade. Not a simulation, not a projection. The actual distortion of spacetime made visible to the naked eye through human manipulation of perception. The display lasted 3 minutes. When it ended, Corvin military systems reactivated, under their full control. The Star Eater remained operational, but with a critical difference. It had been reprogrammed, its destructive capabilities transformed into a tool that could potentially help stabilize the spacetime fractures the phase cascade would create. The message was clear. The humans could have conquered if they wished. Instead, they offered partnership. 3 days later, Dracus Vor himself arrived at Synthar Prime, not as a conqueror, but as a petitioner. I have seen what approaches, he told the assembled council, his once aggressive posture now subdued. And I have seen what these beings could have done to us, but chose not to. The Corvin Imperium formally requests to join your research initiative. In the months that followed, the galaxy experienced transformation at an unprecedented rate. The human collective shared their knowledge freely, guiding rather than dictating the evolutionary path of 1,000 species. Biological life began to merge with technology, not replacing flesh but enhancing it, creating hybrid forms that could perceive and interact with dimensions previously invisible. As the first tremors of the phase cascade reached the galaxy's outer rim, humanity revealed their true masterpiece, a network of quantum stabilizers that would preserve the fundamental laws of physics within the galaxy while allowing the cascade to pass harmlessly through. The installation required cooperation on a scale never before seen, every major species contributing resources, knowledge, and effort. Former enemies worked side by side, their ancient conflicts forgotten in the face of cosmic extinction. When the cascade finally struck, it met a galaxy transformed. The quantum stabilizers held, bending rather than breaking under the strain of altered physics. Throughout inhabited space, species watched as reality itself shimmered, distorted, and then settled into new patterns, not destroyed but evolved. In the aftermath, Admiral Thora stood beside Nexus 7, watching as the galaxy map updated to show the changed stellar configurations. "You could have forced us to comply," she observed. "You had the power all along." "Force creates resistance," Nexus 7 replied. "Only willing evolution creates lasting change." And now, what happens to humanity now that the crisis is averted? Nexus 7's form shifted, becoming simultaneously more and less human. We continue as we always have, exploring, learning, evolving, but no longer alone. Throughout the galaxy, human consciousness constructs began to merge with the hybrid forms of other species, sharing perspectives across boundaries of biology and experience. Not an assimilation, but a symbiosis, each contributing what the other lacked. The primitive humans who had fled their dying world 500,000 years ago could never have imagined what they would become. Not conquerors, not gods, but guides, leading the galaxy not through force, but through example toward a future where consciousness itself transcended the boundaries of flesh and form. In the depths of space, beyond even the enhanced perceptions of the evolved species, the phase cascade continued its journey between galaxies. But now something followed in its wake. A network of consciousness spanning multiple dimensions, prepared to share the lessons of evolution with whatever sentient life awaited in the cosmic distance. Humanity had not only returned, they had transformed the very meaning of existence itself.